Hello, everyone. Welcome to Anime Dreams, your go-to channel for all things anime and fanfiction. I'm thrilled to have you here with me today. If you're passionate about anime and love exploring intriguing what-if scenarios, you're in the right place. Guess what? I've got a fascinating new fanfic topic that I can't wait to share with you. What if neglected Naruto discovered a buried secret in his anger? Part 2. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. So sit back, relax, and let's dive right into this exciting adventure. Day 1. Naruto woke up earlier than usual. It was Tuesday, and he remembered everything that had changed his outlook on life in Konoha. He sat up slowly, yawning and rubbing his eyes. In the bathroom mirror, he noticed his hair was fully dyed blonde again. He hadn't altered much of his appearance, and the changes were subtle unless scrutinized closely. After brushing his teeth and taking a bath, he wrapped up his previously injured arm to avoid raising suspicions. He dressed in a black shirt and gray shorts, put his left arm in a sling, and left the compound to head to an empty training ground. There, he began planning his escape by observing patrol schedules and timings. If I time it right, around this hour I could slip out. But I wouldn't get far unless I take this route. This might work. He pondered, analyzing patrol gaps, duty shifts, and how they might align with his plan. By noon, he was exhausted from spending hours at the training ground strategizing. Hungry, he went to Ichiraku Ramen for a late breakfast, opting for vegetable ramen. Afterwards, he visited the library to study Konoha's layout. It took him a while to find the information he needed, but once he did, he copied the map by hand and returned the original before heading out for a snack. Naruto returned home early to work on his letter to Tsunade. He endured dinner with his family, listening to Kushina chat happily with Nariko and Nanami while Minato smiled and nodded, only speaking when necessary. The adults had dark circles under their eyes, but they pretended to be fine. Naruto, however, ignored them, focusing on his own thoughts. That night, he again dreamt about the mysterious voice, which left him both confused and irritated. Day 2. After waking up and stretching, he proceeded with his morning routine. Once he was dressed, he bandaged his slightly injured arm and placed it in a sling. Leaving the house and the compound was effortless. He headed to the training grounds to practice a bit before anyone else arrived. There, he also reviewed his escape plans, checking various routes and concluding that the front gate was the best option for his intended plan. By the time he returned home, he was too exhausted to engage with his family and play the role of brother and son. He took his dinner to his room, avoiding interaction with the rest of them. After eating, he created 2 storage scrolls and packed 5 shirts, 5 pairs of pants and shorts, and 2 pairs of ninja sandals. He sealed everything in one scroll and placed it in a black backpack with multiple pockets. He went to bed early, as he had only 2 days left before his departure and needed to plan everything meticulously. Day 3. He followed the same morning routine as the previous days before heading out. This time, he went to the market using a henge, bringing all the money he had saved from his parents and Tsunade. He spent 3 hours at the market, purchasing rations, a few bottles of water, a medical kit, a sewing kit, a set of sharp kunai and shurikens, and a roll of exploding tags. In an alley, he sealed all the new supplies and the other storage scroll he had made and then undid the henge before grabbing some breakfast. His savings came from his monthly allowance of 100 yen, which he had been collecting since he was 5. Going back to the compound once again, he decided to skip supper and went to his room. He sat at his desk and pulled out the letter he was going to leave for Tsunade and read over it for the 5th time since he wrote it. Tomorrow night, the night when everyone will be occupied with his escape plan going off, that's when he'll leave. He would have enough time from the morning to set up his plan. Naruto sighed softly. Why couldn't they just tell me? They could have at least made amends by telling me and helping me through it, but instead they kept it from me. I can't go back now. I have completely lost all the trust I had in them. I will leave tomorrow and I will never come back. And if I do, I'll prove how much of a better person I am. As he thought this, his emotions swirled. One part of him believed deep down that maybe they still loved him, but the other part argued if they loved him even a little they would have said something or comforted him a little like they do to Nariko and Nanami. So with his inner struggle, the side that no longer wanted them as a family won, and he steeled himself, determined not to hold on anymore, because after all they have done, what forgiveness do they deserve? So despite his determination to keep his grudge against them, he had made up his choice of leaving and not staying and snapping at them, making himself look like a brat. That night Naruto dreamt of being free, and the last string that kept him attached to the Namikazes was broken. He was going to make a name for himself, and if his any Namikaze came in his way again, he'd make sure they would be sorry, because he will never forgive or forget the emotional hurt they put him through. Day 4. Escape. Getting up and doing his morning routine, he took the backpack and left the compound as fast as he could while they were all sleeping. He went to the library and pulled out a roll of paper bombs and put 3 of them on different walls of the library without anyone noticing because of the genjutsu he used, which was mirror. As quickly and quietly as possible he left the library and cancelled the genjutsu he used. His next stop was the market. Namikaze compound. From the minute Kushina woke, she had a sense of dread in the pit of her stomach, but she ignored it in favor of making breakfast for her family. As she flipped the pancakes, she thought about Naruto. She completely pushed away the thought of having neglected her only son. No. I never neglected him, he was just always so quiet and caused trouble. That's why we sometimes forget about him or ignore him. After all, I never raised him to be disrupted. The only reason he can't play pranks now is because of his arms, so the girls must be mistaking some other child's pranks for Naruto's. Yeah, that must be it. As she thought upon this, the girls ran down the staircase and into the kitchen with big smiles on their faces, making herself smile as well. Naruto. After putting about several exploding tags multiple places in the market where people won't really get hurt, he made his way to the hospital and put some tags around there before going and doing the same to the Hokage Tower with the last few tags without anyone noticing him. Naruto soon made his way to Akira's ramen stand and got himself a few bowls of miso ramen. Tsunade Ka-san will be mad at me for making her worry, but the letter will let her know I'm okay. I'm going to leave. But will I survive? No one's going to be there to save me. I'm going to be on my own. But I'll get lonely. I wonder if I'll make friends. Naruto thought upon this, slightly fearful. After all, he was only just a child, and he could only hope that his intellectual mind would help him. Drinking the miso soup, he thanked the father-daughter duo who watched him with worried. Naruto walked out the stand with the black backpack slung over his back and looked up at the sky as a soft breeze blew by, ruffling his blonde hair. The sun stood dead still in the sky, indicating that it was 12 now. Naruto turned away and made his way into a forest by a nearby training ground, looking for a stream to use a dye remover to wash out the blonde dye. He had planned everything out as best as he could. Now all he had to do was put this plan in motion and make his escape. 10 hours later. A boy in black, who was identified as Naruto with his streaks in his hair, moved around in the shadows as quickly and silently as he could. As he made his way to the front gates of Konoha with a black backpack slung over his back, he stood in the shadow of the wall, making his chakra signal as small as he could. Then he made a hand sign and sent out a small pulse of chakra, and then hinged into a rat at the same time as casting his genjutsu mirror on the guards by the gate. Boom! Was the sound of all the paper bombs going off, which was also Naruto's signal to leave when the gate guards jumped looking for the problem that caused the explosion. So hinged as a rat, Naruto hightailed it out of Konoha gates, hiding a good distance away from the place that tried to destroy his dreams, in between some tree roots. Namikaze compound. Minato lied in his bed next to Kushina, thinking about Naruto. Come to think of it, I haven't seen him the whole day. I wonder if Kushina has. As he thought this, an explosion went off, startling Kushina awake. Minato? What's going on? There was just an explosion. Oh my god. Where are the girls? Kushina asked frantically as she jumped up and quickly got dressed in some pants and a top and grabbed her weapons. Minato quickly did the same, and the two of them rushed to the girls' rooms. Getting to their rooms, they found the girls shaking and awake with confused and fearful looks on their faces. Unknown to them, in their panicked haste, they fell back into their routine of easily forgetting their son. Ka-san? To-san? What's going on? What happened? Was that an explosion? Is the village under attack? The two girls shot off questions one after each other. It seems like it, but don't worry, angels. To-san and Ka-san will protect you. Kushina told the girls, comforting them as an Anbu showed up and started speaking to Minato. Kushina, let's go, we need it at the office. The village is going on lockdown for the next few days until a proper investigation is done. Let's go, we need to get to the bottom of this, and soon. After Minato said this, Kushina nodded and said goodbye to the girls, and they both disappeared in a yellow flash together. Naruto. After waiting a few minutes, he undid the henge and started running as fast as he could in the direction which was the borders of Fire Country as it had stated on the map he had with him. He still held his breath, hoping that the village will be put on lockdown for an investigation so he could get out of the country as fast and as safely as he could without being noticed. As he sprinted further away using his chakra to stick on the branches, he could not help but feel a bit of guilt from running away, but he pushed that aside. He needed to think about himself for a change. Hokage Tower. The people occupying the meeting room were in utter chaos and disorder, with clan heads and civilians shouting and fighting among each other, and that is the scene Minato and Kushina flashed into. The chaos only settled down by seeing their Hokage and his wife. Hokage-sama, Kushina-sama. What's going on? Are we being attacked? Have you caught anyone yet? Do you know who did this? These were the questions fired off by the civilian council members, one being especially loud was Haruno Mebuki, which made some of the more sensitive clan heads wince at the loudness. Silence. Firstly, it would seem like we are being attacked. Secondly, we do not know who the culprit is. Thirdly, what we do know is that the library, hospital, area around this tower and the market was targeted, other than that no other places have been bombed with explosive tags. This is a worrying factor, so the village will be on lockdown for the next few days until an investigation is done. Dismissed. After explaining this to the council, they accepted it, and Minato and Kushina left to his office. Naruto. Naruto stood panting. He felt like he had been running forever, much longer than he could keep up. He pulled out the map and estimated that he was about halfway to the border of Fire Country, and like someone lifted a weight off his shoulders, he slumped over under the tree he was standing under. After all, he had been running right through the night, only taking short breaks every now and then. Soon he fell asleep under the tree hidden behind some of the bigger roots. 8 hours later. By the time Naruto woke up again, he could see by the sky and sun that it was probably late afternoon, and he mentally smacked himself out of his sheer forgetfulness with his situation. What if the village sent out Anbu already? And they could have caught him. What if they caught me? Ugh. They'll drag me back and lock me up. I forgot about that. Naruto thought as he looked around for anything suspicious before pulling out a bottle of water and drinking some up. Then he put it away and stretched. It wasn't long before the sun set and he was on the move again, moving only as fast as his still sore muscles allowed him to. Konoha. Tsunade was stuck once again in the research lab looking over some new poisons that Shizune and her were trying to break down in various parts. She had heard the explosions, and a Chunin had come running to Shizune and herself just to tell them not to worry and that for now the village was on lockdown. It made her angry to no end, but she had her duty along with Shizune in the research lab for future reference, and she understood that, which is why she ended up working along with Shizune to the bone for the next 3 days. However, on her desk back at the Senju compound there lied a not-so-innocent-looking envelope waiting to be opened and let out all its secrets. Naruto. 2 days had passed since he left Konoha, 2 hard days of running non-stop even when his muscles protesting, and now he was almost to the border, just a few meters away from freedom, and in a fast sprint he crossed it as fast as he could. He was now on the border of sand. Suddenly the wide grin that stretched across his face twisted into one of pain, and he dropped to the ground in pain, clutching his head with both hands. He felt like his head would explode in a shower of gore, and he couldn't stop it. His scream of pain was cut off in his throat when he blacked out. 1 hour later. Waking up to a splitting headache was something Naruto had become used to. After all, reading throughout the night about chakra arts had both its pros and cons. However, Naruto had the worst headache yet. His eyes hurt, ears hurt, and most of all he felt like he had been introduced to a hard book cover meeting his face. But checking out by feeling his face he could tell nothing was broken, so as he sat up, suddenly everything came rushing back to him. Mito, the purple rock, him being the chosen heir for the Uzumaki clan, their legacy, the prophecy, that he didn't care about, and having his memories sealed and the reasons behind getting them sealed. He let out a shaky breath and looked up to the sky and closed his eyes and reminisced, completely understanding why this had been the right decision. Flashback. I'm going to start with the Uzumaki legacy. It all started back just before the Six Paths of Sage died. You see, the Six Paths of Sage had a dream to keep the world in peace, but he knew he was too old to continue doing that, so he passed his dream on to his sons, Indra and Asura. Indra was a prodigy from the start, however Asura was slow learning and was accused of having no talent. Yet as they grew older, Asura pushed and worked hard to learn the things he did and believed that love and friendship was the key to peace, while Indra never worked as hard as his younger brother and believed power and control is what was needed for peace. When their father died, he chose Asura for his successor because he too believed in love and friendship. However, Indra was enraged and jealous, so he was easily controlled by Black Zetsu, who also changed the table that spoke of the truth, which was passed on to Indra's descendants, the Uchiha. Indra had started a war with Asura in which their descendants carried on, not knowing why they fought in the first place. Asura's descendants, the Senju and Uzumaki, fought for many years against the Uchiha until Asura's reincarnation, Hashirama Senju, my belated husband, was born and decided to start the village of Konoha with Madara Uchiha, Indra's reincarnation, who agreed for his people. They brought about peace to the lands once again until Madara grew jealous that Hashirama was chosen to be Kage and caused chaos. However, his clan abandoned him in his streak of jealousy because they wanted peace. So Hashirama and Madara faced off. However, Madara overstepped his boundaries and controlled the Kyuubi with his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. So in an act of desperation, I used my special chakra chains to seal the Kyuubi within myself. Hashirama ended up winning and Madara apparently died, and Hashirama died in the war. Now once again the cycle of hatred is repeating itself, and according to tales you have been chosen to be Asura's reincarnation and Uchiha Sasuke as Indra's. Mito explained all this without pause, and Naruto's eyes widened a bit comically at the last bit. Me and Mikoto Ka-san's younger son Sasuke? Itachi's brother? We gonna end up fighting? How? I don't understand. Why must he be that guy's reincarnation? Why am I Asura's reincarnation? Why? Naruto rambled on until Mito made him keep quiet with a look that made him quiet very quickly. It's just how it is. Not even we know how to predict who becomes the reincarnation. Yes, you might likely fight him, but then again, perhaps the cycle may be broken this time and free the souls of this endless hatred, but I don't know if it will really be possible, so that's not a standing possibility. However, now what I'm about to tell you is the Uzumaki legacy. Asura had 2 children after he had traveled the land and settled down with a young woman who ended up birthing these twins. One was a girl, the other a boy. Their names were Hitomi and Hiro. They both grew up watching their father and uncle fight and also took on their father's dreams. The girl, Hitomi, was talented in manipulation of the earth and could grow trees, make rivers and heal with chakra. The boy Hiro was talented in the art of sealing, sword play, and possessed a special type of chakra. The two had married off and created their own clan, Senju by Hitomi and Uzumaki by Hiro. While fighting their cousins and distant cousins, Hiro created 2 katanas for himself to use, which was made with his chakra and the strongest metals known to man. One blade as black as a raven, the other as white as snow. Both grips were gold and blood red with 2 little rubes dangling on each end. They both bore the white Uzumaki swirl and had writing engraved on their blades. Later he created 4 other weapons. Also there is a prophecy that goes as such: the heir of the whirlpool with a great burden will bring about a great change when the eye of the moon endangers the world. That's the prophecy. Mito took a breath after having spoken so much and let Naruto take in what she said. Then I will get stronger and prove to everyone I can do it. And I'll do it all without Minato and Kushina. What about these weapons? Where are they and how can I find them? And how do you know all this? Naruto asked and said, determined get stronger and prove to himself and everyone he can do it without his family. However, Mito cut in quickly when she seen this. Naruto, don't let that be your goal. Please, I have seen some go down a road like that and it's not pretty. Make your own goals and build bonds, make friends, try to be happy and overcome the grudge you hold for your birth family, make your own family with friends and allies. The weapons are all scattered around the elemental nations, however Hiro's own twin katanas lie in an underwater cave at the bottom of Uzu's biggest whirlpool. You can also learn sealing by spending a few months in the Uzu ruins. I'm sure you will learn much, however I have not been to Uzu since I was married to Hashirama, so I don't know how things are there. So be careful. There should also be a journal about the other weapons and how to find them. Also Uzu is on an island in Nami no Kuni. And I know all this because it's all in the journal in the cave with the katanas. Once she was done telling him all this, she smiled lightly at the boy before her, who looked between amazement, curious and irritated. Okay. I'll try, but I dunno if I can after all they have done and all the times they ignored me for my sisters. So I can't promise, but I'll try and I'll find the cave with the katanas and that journal. And I will try to be happy as well as protect the people I care for. He said proudly, and she smiled once again, only wider than the last one. One more thing, there is a chamber where the most treasured things are held and no one knows about it other than the clan head and the heir. She then went on telling him about what happened to Kushina and how he should choose the right steps, all things only passed on from one clan head to the next, which put Naruto in a more somber mood when she told him that in Konoha there is a purple rock that contains most of her chakra and half of her soul, and that his memories will come back of this place with her as soon as he has chosen the right decision, which was leaving to get stronger and prove himself, but also not to act upon his grudge against his family and those who aided his sisters by snapping like he would if he continued in Konoha. Naruto sat listening to what was going on and what was going to happen when he gets sent back. I can't believe this. And no one knew this, only from one clan head to the next? And when I get back, my memories of this place will be sealed until I choose of my own will what my next steps will be, and if I don't choose the right one, my memories and my heir rights will be wiped clean like my mother. Also there's a glowing purple rock that you sealed a lot of your chakra, including half of your soul in? And it will all come back to me the minute I make the right decision? Then now that you told me everything, I guess you're going to send me back? Naruto asked why was his life so troublesome? In the realm of the living, Shikamaru sneezed. Yes, but before that, remember what I said about the prophecy, and you will regain what you have lost, and remember you are the heir, so get stronger on your own terms. Now Naruto, are you ready to go back? Mito asked, and he nodded, remembering the prophecy she told him that he was a part of. After he nodded, Mito leaned forward and placed a kiss on his forehead and watched him slowly get a blank and confused look before fading away. Flashback end. The dazed look in Naruto's eyes faded away slowly as he stood up and pulled out the map he made and looked it over briefly for Nami no Kuni, because that was his destination right now. To get to Uzu and find that twin katanas and the journal, then learn more about Fuin Jutsu, the art of sealing, and also find and seal everything of value in Uzu into a scroll so no one can stumble across the land and just claim that which is not theirs. He put the map away and moved in the direction stated on the map. Konoha. Senju Tsunade was not a woman with time on her hands, because she was always busy with this and with that, and she only just got home, only to find an envelope on her desk signed by Naruto. So naturally, wanting to see why her son figure left a letter instead of coming to see her personally, after all she did give him an estimate as to when she'll be free again after looking over poisons and finishing her paperwork. So she picked it up, yet as she opened it a sense of dread filled her to the brim. To Tsunade-ka-san. If you are reading this, it means that 3 days has passed since I left the village. Which was the reasons there was explosions, that was because of me to use as a distraction to get out of Konoha and Fire Country with pursuits. I am sorry to leave behind those who care for me, but after finding out my career and dreams have been crushed by my family and trying to hide it from me, I just can't stand that anymore, all the lies and hiding things from me. It was honestly the last straw for me. I just want to get away from it all. But don't worry about me, I will survive and I will keep my dreams. Maybe someday I will see you and the others again. I love you and I will miss all of you a lot. And don't look for me. P.S. Tell Mikoto-ka-san I'm sorry I won't be there when the baby is born. Love. Naruto. Tsunade was in tears as she read this letter over and over again. Words just could not find their way out her mouth, and she let out a choked sob, dropping the letter and stumbling back just as Shizune opened the door. Tsunade didn't even realize Shizune had been knocking for the past few minutes on her door until she had opened the door and rushed to Tsunade asking what was wrong, but as the tears fell she could only stare at the letter on the floor. Shizune, seeing where her mentor's gaze was, she went to the letter and picked it up and read it and let out her own sob as tears fell and ran out the house and compound heading to the Hokage Tower. Hokage Tower. Minato was currently in a meeting with the council discussing a few details about the attack 3 days ago. Jiraiya and Kushina stood to his sides as he addressed the clan heads who had to bring their wives along and the civilian heads who did the same. Itachi, Shishu, Kakashi and Anko stood in the shadows in their Anbu uniforms. So after looking through everything, we have come to the conclusion that the attack Minato never got to finish as Shizune knocked down the doors with brute strength that she hardly used and walked right up to him with tears falling from her eyes before slamming a letter down on his desk, almost breaking it. "You miserable excuse of parents, how could you let this happen?" This was shouted out by Shizune as she gripped his collar and pointed down at the letter. When Kushina came to pull her away, she backhanded her and the mark quickly turning blue while everyone in the room was looking shocked. This is not the sweet soft Shizune they knew because she had a murderous aura around her. "You want to know WHO caused the explosions? Read it out loud for everyone to hear." She screamed at him and he was so shocked he quickly obeyed her and picked up the letter to read it. To Tsunade-ka-san. If you are reading this, it means that 3 days has passed since I left the village. Which was the reasons there was explosions. That was because of me to use as a distraction to get out of Konoha and Fire Country with pursuits. I am sorry to leave behind those who care for me, but after finding out my career and dreams have been crushed by my family and trying to hide it from me, I just can't stand it anymore, all the lies and hiding things from me. It was honestly the last straw for me. I just want to get away from it all. But don't worry about me, I will survive and I will keep my dreams. Maybe someday I will see you and the others again. I love you and I will miss all of you a lot. And don't look for me. P.S. Tell Mikoto-ka-san I'm sorry I won't be there when the baby is born. Love. Naruto. Minato only realized what he just read after he uttered his only son's name, and he also realized he still had a meeting going on. Minato? Kushina? What in the world is wrong with you? Your only son. My godson. Kami-sama. You have forsaken your own son. Jiraiya yelled at his disciple in anger and disapproval, completely forgetting there were others in the room because he was simply too angry. The Toad Sage briefly recalled figuring the Chosen One was his godson and not someone else because of the similar things that old Toad has said that reminded him of Naruto. The room quickly went into an uproar when everything finally settled in. Shizune still wore her angry face, so did a very pregnant Mikoto, while Katsume and Biwako stood back with deep frowns on their faces. Meanwhile, Kushina was crying as she backed up against the wall and slid down holding her head in her hands. Things just went from bad to terrible. If only your son meant as your daughters do to you, maybe he'd still be here. Mikoto yelled at Kushina while the tears fell furiously down her face and her pale skin was flushed red with anger. Minato and Kushina felt their own tears fall with shock at this revelation, which would soon be one of many to come. It's been 2 weeks since Naruto left Konoha and he was finally stopping for another rest after all, since he'd been trying to hide his trail by moving along Suna's borders to get to Nami no Kuni, which was on the opposite side of Konoha. It had been truly tiring, and after so long he hoped to get to Uzu no Kuni fast. Going around Konoha was not fun for the Uzumaki, and he had to take a break every few hours even while hiding and trying not to get caught by Konoha or Suna, let alone any other shinobi. Yes. Civilization. Finally. Naruto exclaimed as he seen walls to a small village near to Nami. His clothes were smeared with dirt and had tears here and there. He also had sand laying in his hair, yet he wore the biggest grin for the first time in forever. He was so happy to finally be able to get a rest to relax his sore and tired muscles from all the running and moving around Konoha and invading scouts and teams to get him back. So as Naruto made his way to the small village near Nami, not knowing the dangers that awaits him that would change him in many ways but also earn him a new friend who would accompany him on his journey for the next few years. Konoha. Back at the Namikaze compound, Kushina sat at the kitchen table staring blankly at the empty white wall next to the stove. Her eyes were red and puffy, and her face was swollen from crying so much. She wore a depressed and a dazed outlook as if remembering something of the past. Flashback. After the letter was revealed to Kushina and Minato by Shizune, and they got over the shock of the letter, Minato made haste and dismissed the council that was angry and in a panic so that they could talk more in private about Naruto. So wiping any tears away, he quickly flashed all of them away, which included Shizune, Jiraiya, himself and his wife. They next appeared in the Namikaze family's living room. "Shizune, please tell us what's going on? Why would our son leave? He has everything he needs here." Minato rambled while Kushina blew her nose in a tissue. Jiraiya stood against the wall and watched with a frown on his face. He was doing his best to control his emotions after that outburst he had earlier. "Shizune, I think you should tell them all of their mistakes because clearly they have yet to realize it on their own. Even with their shock of their only son, they have forsaken and pushed away, making him run away." Jiraiya's voice, which was strained with anger and pain, called Shizune out of her rage-filled thoughts and making her nod slowly and wiping away her angry and sad-filled tears. "Shizune, please tell us the truth about my baby boy, please?" Kushina cried harder, begging Shizune with her red-rimmed eyes and flushed face from crying so long. Minato walked up to his wife and hugged her while keeping his own tears at bay. Kushina might put up a tough persona, but she has a fragile heart. Naruto. He was always smart, very observant for a child his age. From the moment I laid my eyes on him, I knew he was going to be something great in the future. Since he was born, we've noticed you always overlooked him for the girls. We thought you'd start including him when he got older, but our hopes were dashed when you ignored him more and more, especially after he told you that every time the girls slept next to him, he was getting hurt. Shizune paused as tears filled her eyes once more and her throat choked on the words. She looked at Jiraiya before continuing. "Tsunade-sama and I checked him out after overhearing you talk about him complaining. We found some kind of chakra that wasn't his in his system. It was stretching his chakra coils and it was doing something else like poison. We were going to tell you, but then we heard that you didn't want to hear about anything about that anymore. Tsunade-sama tried to make you think, but you brushed it off, so we kept quiet. That's when your daughters and every other child started pranking and blamed it on Naruto. You never heard him out, always believing the girls and others over your son. Finally he made friends with Itachi, Hinata, and Neji. They couldn't always be there with him, but they were good to him when they seen him. The Uchihas, Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sama and I become something of a family, but we were always busy because there is so much we all have to do around the village. Everything was going wrong and none of us could make you see because Naruto made us promise not to say anything to you. Despite all of these problems of favoring the girls, he managed to study and teach himself how to do jutsu, and he did it with his brilliant mind. But now is gone all because you couldn't tell him the truth." Shizune was back to a sobbing mess at this point. Kushina was no better as she and Minato finally realized all the problems they caused by favoring Nariko and Nanami over Naruto. "That pain he was talking about, do you have anything left over from the observations you gave him? I think I might know what that pain was caused by if it happened every time the girls slept next to him, but I have to see before anything else. The girls might have been using him as a chakra rod for the Kyuubi. If that is true, then the next time the fox gives its hosts a surge to make them stronger to use its chakra when they older, there might be big problems, especially if this has been happening since they babies." Jiraiya's voice cut through the silence and Minato and Shizune's eyes widened. "We drove our own son away, Minato. Oh Kami, please Naruto, come back. Come back. We'll try and fix things." Kushina cried out to the heavens while struggling in her husband's arms, which tightened around her as he too cried. His wife finally collapsed against him, sobbing loudly. "Shizune, let's go, we'll come back another time. Let them think for now, let's go check on Tsunade-hime and see how she's doing." This was said as Jiraiya helped her stand and she nodded, and both of them left the compound, leaving broken parents behind. End of flashback. Kushina went to the cabinet and pulled out a bottle of sake and poured some out for herself with trembling hands and sat back down on the chair by the table so she drowned the first glass in a few seconds, that it would make Tsunade proud. She wanted to drown all her problems and mistakes. Later they would talk to Nariko and Nanami about their punishment and hopefully about the chakra situation, but not before she slapped the lights out of them. Naruto. Naruto reached the entrance of the village and immediately he felt something was wrong. It was a really small village and it also looked really poor. Walking slowly into the village, he seen a bunch of guys surrounding a woman. She had short black hair and she was crying out about something or someone, but he couldn't hear what she was saying. Naruto crept slowly away. As much as he'd love to help, he couldn't because he wasn't strong enough, especially since he'd been running and hiding so long and he didn't want to make things worse than they already were. As he tried to creep away, he suddenly hit something hard and he turned around only to come face to face with one of the bandits, possibly the leader of the group. "Hey boys! Look what we found. Let's see if he has anything on him." The dark brown-headed, bearded leader of the bandits boomed with a laugh, lifting Naruto off the ground by the scruff of his neck. He eyed the black bag on Naruto's back and he grinned with a glint in his eyes. "Konoha. A few days ago." Nariko and Nanami sat in the family room. Their parents sat opposite them and stared at them unwavering. Nanami shifted uncomfortably on the couch next to her sister. The whole situation was weird for them. Their parents never stared at them that way ever. It's more of a Naruto situation because he was always the one in these types of situations, not them, so it was unsettling. "Nariko, Nanami, we called you today because we have found out something. We have found out that you have wronged your brother many times in the past, and it's sad that we have just found out about this now only. So me and your mother have come to a suitable punishment for you too," Minato said solemnly to his daughters, and their eyes widened while his face betrayed no emotions. Nariko was the first one to blow a gasket. "What? We did nothing to that loser. He's the one always complaining and pulling pranks. Not us. Why don't you punish that idiot? Naruto, where are you? Come take your punishment. How dare he say anything wrong about us?" Nariko spat out in rage, her face red as a tomato with anger and hate. Snap! Snap! Naruto's not here. He ran away because of us. I never raised you like this. Who are you? You are no daughters of mine. My daughters would love their brother, not hate him. They'd care for him, not blame things on him. No children of mine would use their sibling as a chakra rod. How dare you? You two have brought dishonor to our family. And so you will be punished accordingly. After all, you are two of the people who has made him run away. Now we'll never see him again thanks to this family. Kushina snapped at Nariko and Nanami after slapping them across their faces. Nariko's mouth was agape. A purple bruise was forming on her right cheek and a similar bruise was forming on Nanami's left cheek. Kushina, let's go. We have more important things to do, like get Kakashi's report on the search for our son. Leave them to rethink their actions towards their brother. When we get back, we'll give them their punishment. Minato told his wife, pulling her away. Soon they both left and the girls were alone. Nanami crumbled first. Oh Nariko, nay. What have we done? Nanami cried out with wide eyes as the tears finally pooled over, as if it would help the situation they were in. Nariko crumbled next into a pile of limbs with wide eyes, as if only now realizing the damage done on their family. Not in their entire lives have they ever thought their brother will run away because of what they did. This was truly a wake-up call for them. Nanami-chan. I don't know. I'm so sorry. Nariko whispered, putting a hand on her cheek, touching the bruise and looking over at her sister's forlorn expression. She hugged her sister and pat her back. I really dunno. I'm so sorry, Naruto ni. I'm so sorry. She kept whispering. Naruto. Our favorite blonde boy with black streaks was running to get away, but that wasn't working out well for him because his muscles were all sore and tired from running for so long in the past few days, and that's what made him stumble and fall, which unsurprisingly lead to him being loomed over by the bandits' leader once again. This man was really full of himself. Let's see you try that stunt again, you brat. Boys, I want him dead by the hour. I won't allow some snot-nosed brat stop my raids. We have women to use and men to kill and beat, so let's get this shit out the way. Now. The leader yelled at his men with anger and watched satisfied as his men scrambled to do his bidding. His smirk widened as he watched his men crowd around the boy, beating him before killing him. However, as Naruto's eyes widened, inside his body his blood was pumping hard and rushing along with his chakra running to his eyes. The different cords behind his eyes began shifting and changing at a fast rate. For a moment Naruto's vision went black and all he could think and imagine was the tall inhuman figures looming over him trying to kill him with weapons. Not a minute later, when his vision returned, he made eye contact with one of the guys coming to beat then kill him. The guy froze up and his weapon, which was a spike, fell upright with him falling straight onto it. Blood. The guy's eyes were wide and unseeing, without life left in him. Naruto's eyes widened and made eye contact with some of the other bandits, and each of them fell either into their weapons or unconscious. At first Naruto sat confused, then he realized that he was unconsciously releasing chakra into his eyes rolled back into his head and he passed out. He just realized he had killed today using genjutsu from his eyes. Konoha. Minato sat behind his desk reading the report Suna Shinobi and Kakashi gave him. He let out a frustrated sigh. Really, his son was too smart for his own good. Where was he heading anyway? That was the question running in the Hokage's head as he reread the reports over again and again, checking if he missed something or anything. He put down the reports and massaged his temples. He could feel a migraine coming on slowly. He felt like such a bad Hokage since he can't even find his own son who was hiding. Flashback. Sensei. I'm sorry, but we can't find Naruto anywhere. We even had help from Suna Shinobi that was doing border scouting and we still turned up with nothing. Pakun and his pack of dogs also looked, but we still got nothing. All we know is that he had been on the borders of Suna and Konoha about 2 weeks ago. I'm really sorry, Minato-sensei. We all tried really hard. Kakashi told him and set down the reports for him to look through. End of flashback. Naruto. Naruto was found by the young woman who was the one crying out about something or someone back at the village. After none of the bandits came back, she got worried for the little boy, so she went to look for him to see if he was okay, but she had never in her life expected to see all the bandits unconscious or dead laying on the ground all around the young blonde boy with black streaks who had saved her by pure accident. She was slightly horrified, so she went to check out the boy if he was okay or not. Konoha. Nariko lay upon her bed staring at her ceiling in deep thought about what had happened a few days ago and how she got slapped. She thought about the brother she had made miserable and the parents Nanami and her unconsciously manipulated into neglecting said brother. Nariko was at a loss for what to do. Her brother left, and it was all Nanami and her fault. She felt so helpless. Sure, she didn't completely love her brother and she was jealous of him, but she never saw herself as a bad person. I wish I could change what I have caused, but I can't. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air of her room. A few tears slipped out her eyes as she now saw herself as the monster who tormented her brother's dreams and stood in way of his goals. She wanted to change that image, but she knew it was true and she could only try and atone for her deeds. It will be Naruto's choice to forgive her and them when they see him again. Naruto. The young woman decided to take him back to her village and into her home because she couldn't let the child lay there where he had been laying between the bandits and all the blood. When she got home, her younger sister, who was about 6, was waiting for her by their kitchen window open slightly. Suki Ne-chan. I saw those bandits harassing you. And that boy my age stopped them. The little girl yelled. She had blood-red hair and dark forest green eyes. It was obvious that the two sisters didn't share any resemblance, but that didn't mean much to either sister because even though they were clearly not blood-related, they were just as close as sisters normally are. What? You were watching that? Oh, Akari-chan. I'm so sorry you had to see that. But now we have to attend to this poor boy and help him. The now identified Suki told her sister, who only now noticed the boy in her arms who drew the attention away from her big sister when those bandits were worrying her. Her eyes looked at him curiously and in slight wonder at his bravery. That's the same boy from earlier. What happened to him, Ne-chan? Did he get hurt? Did those bandits hurt him? Akari shot out questions as she ran to help her One-chan with the boy. They brought him to Akari's room and put him on the bed before Tsuki told Akari to get a bucket of warm water and a cloth to wipe off the blood and dirt he had on him. They tentatively cleaned him and took all his clothes except his underpants to wash and mend so he can wear them again when he wakes up. For now though, Tsuki had Akari watch him while she cooked them some food for dinner and hung up the black-streaked blonde's clothes to get dry properly. They also found his black bag and cleaned it off and putting it one side in Akari's room. The next morning, Naruto stirred in the bed and his messy black-streaked hair fell out of his face to show his violet amethyst eyes opening slowly and blinking in confusion before realization kicked in and he remembered what happened. He turned deathly pale and he felt like throwing up. Just then Akari and Suki walked in and rushed to him, seeing as he was now awake, and sat him up, then gave him a glass of water. "Hey Whisker-kun. How are you feeling? What's your name? Why did you have blood on you? Did the bandits leave? Why were you alone? Where's your family? Why weren't they with you? Do you have siblings? Why are you looking so pale? Are you sick? Is your tummy sore? Your eyes are so pretty." "Suki Wani-chan, isn't his eyes pretty?" Akari interrogated him without giving him a chance to respond before shooting off another question. "Akari-chan. Let him answer one at a time. I'm sure he is trying to sort out his thoughts." Suki reprimanded her adopted sister with a sigh while shaking her head in amusement with her sister's outbursts. Akari had the decency to blush in embarrassment at getting scolded in front of the boy they were nursing yesterday afternoon, who had finally woken up. "My name's Naruto. Thanks for helping me even though I didn't deserve it," Naruto said softly, letting his hair shade his eyes that were full of tears of remorse, remembering he killed those men with his eyes unknowingly with genjutsu. He felt so ashamed of himself, thinking that Katsumi would be so angry and ashamed of him for killing the bandits with the art of genjutsu that her clan used. "Naruto-kun, you didn't do anything wrong. It was those bad men who were bandits that raids our village that were wrong. You saved me from disgrace when those men went after you instead of me," Suki argued with a frown at his lifeless-like attitude, and Akari nodded beside her with a huge smile on her face. "I killed them. I didn't mean to. My fear. They looked into my eyes. I didn't mean to use genjutsu on them. Just I was so scared and it just happened. From my eyes. I was so confused. But I felt my chakra in my eyes. And I just knew," Naruto said before he broke down in tears for what he did, while the two girls were shocked at what he told them. They didn't know how to make him feel better, but they didn't look at him differently either. "Naruto-kun. That is so unfortunate that this happened to you at such a young age. I don't know if this will help, but those men are the same ones who killed our parents in front of us a year ago. They enjoyed hurting our parents and laughed when they stabbed them to death. So they were bad people, and if you killed them with this genjutsu that you accidentally used with your eyes in your fearful state of mind, then you saved us all from their wicked nature of killing for fun. To cry and feel the weight of doing something wrong means that you're showing remorse for what you've done. My birth parents told me this, and they were both ninja once, but they died by the hands of ninja when I was 9. I'm 21 now, and I still believe in what they said even after I was adopted into this family at the age of 11, and they always cared for me as if I was their own daughter, even when Akari was born from my adoptive parents 5 years ago, and when they died by the hands of those bandits last year, then entrusted me with their only blood-related daughter." Suki told her story to Naruto, who listened quietly with wide eyes. "I'm sorry, Tsuki-san, Akari-san. Thank you for sharing your story with me and making me see clearer. I understand now that is the life of a shinobi. I will keep your words in my heart," Naruto said, wiping away his tears. Even though he still felt guilty and ashamed, he knew that he'd have to figure out everything as he goes along, but he also knew he couldn't mope around because he had goals that he had set for himself and he wasn't about to stray from his path. "Naruto-kun? Are you okay now? You not so pale anymore. And your eyes don't look so sad anymore. Will you stay with us, Naruto-kun?" Akari lightened the room with her questions, and Naruto found himself smiling lightly. Suki just shook her head in amusement of her adopted sister, who had started grinning at him again, the somber mood getting to her. "Hi. I'm feeling better now, Akari-san, but I can't stay with the two of you. You have done enough for me and I must leave again to get stronger so I can see my goals through to the end," Naruto told them, looking down at his hands in his lap, bowing his head in gratitude to the two sisters who had looked after him while he had been unconscious. "Huh? But you can't leave just yet? You just came here yesterday. Please don't leave so soon, Naruto-kun. Suki-ne-chan, tell him he can't leave yet?" Akari nagged with a pout on her face, looking at Suki, who patted her head with a sigh and smiled softly down at her younger sister. "I'm sure Naruto-kun needs to rest up for at least a week before he leaves, so until then he'll be staying with us and we'll take care of him, and I'm sure the two of you can play around and become friends before he has to leave again." Is that acceptable?" Tsuki told her sister while Naruto's mouth went agape and Akari nodded happily at her sister with a wide grin. Yay! We gonna have so much fun and I'm gonna show you all around the village and then we can play games and we can go swim and Otsuki Ne-chan makes awesome food and we gonna make you all better before you leave again and oh everything is gonna be so awesome and Akari never got to finish as Tsuki cut her off. And we going to leave so Naruto-kun can get some rest and something to eat since I'm sure he's famished and in need of something to eat. Say bye to Naruto-kun for now. Tsuki laughed as her sister's face turned tomato red and puffed out her cheeks before nodding and saying she'll see him later in the day to ask some questions again. Konoha. Minato punched the training post at his training field in his compound with frustration and stress. His knuckles were bloody and his clothes were stuck to him from sweat and his blue eyes were ring-red from tears and he collapsed onto the ground running a hand through his blonde hair with his eyes closed. He felt so angry at himself because of his family that was falling apart into tiny pieces and he felt he was utterly helpless to do anything about it. His only son was crippled because of him. His only son had suffered negligence because of him. His only son left because of him. He only had one son. And now he was gone. Because of him. And they couldn't find him anywhere. Some father I am. Senju Compound. Different pictures of a smiling blonde boy with violet amethyst eyes littered the floors everywhere. He was in every picture with different poses. Empty sake bottles littered the floors in piles here and there. In many of the pictures 5 women were always at least once in every picture. One with blonde hair, one with dark brown hair, one with dark navy blackish blue hair, one with graying brown hair and one with dark graying hair. If names were to be added to each of them it would go in this order. Tsunade, Shizune, Mikoto, Katsume, and Baiwako. In the lounge we would find 2 of the 5 women laying drunk on the floor, this being Tsunade and Shizune. Hospital. Baiwako sat in the head medic office behind the desk. She wore a frown as she looked over reports and files for the glowing purple rock that rests in the research lab, which is the size of a boulder that is utterly impenetrable. After all, they tried everything to break that thing apart. Something nagged at the back of her head that this was familiar somehow. She let out a sigh and put down the papers. She looked out the window onto the Hokage monument and gazed at her late husband's face sculptured upon the mountain before her eyes slid to the 4th face and her frown deepened as she thought about the certain little blonde that looked almost identical with his blonde hair to the man she had lost much respect for. Everything so far had gone wrong when the girls were given their way more than. She turned away from the window because she had better things that had to be done, important things. It would be pointless to ponder and point fingers at others. Kurama clan compound. Obasan? Are you okay? Do you want some tea? Can I do anything for you, Obasan? A little red-headed girl with bright dark brown eyes asked the elder sitting by the window watching the birds. This little girl was the elder's granddaughter and also a girl who had a lot of raw potential and enhanced genjutsu prowess that could use genjutsu that affect the body or bodies of the person or people her genjutsus are used on. Hi. I'm fine, Yakumo-chan. Just thinking on a few things I hope to see in the future if I live until then. Why don't you get me the tea for now then, my child? This old bat is terribly parched and we wouldn't want me coughing my lungs up on this beautiful redwood floors now, would we? The elder asked her granddaughter, who immediately shook her head and rushed off to the kitchen for the traditional tea set. The old woman's honey-colored eyes wrinkled at the corners as they sparkled with mythical amusement with a pinch of sadness hidden in her eyes. Katsume Kurama couldn't deny that the future would be a sight to behold if she lived long enough. Uchiha compound. The head of the clan and his wife sat outside in silence. Neither spoke their thoughts, yet both spoke their mind. As confusing as it would seem, it has been like this for the past few days between the couple. This is the scene their son, Itachi, walked into with his heavy heart. Mikoto glanced at her eldest child, as did Fugaku. Both looked questionably at him, awaiting his report. Itachi-chan, please tell me you've got good news for us. Please? Mikoto pleaded to her son with tears in her eyes while Fugaku just held her hand in support with his own. Itachi inwardly winced. Naruto leaving had taken its toll on both his mother and father, including him. He took a breath. He might as well inform them and get it over with for now. He hated seeing his mother like this, especially since she is pregnant. Ka-san, To-sama. It is to my utter disappointment to inform you that we have still found absolutely nothing with regards to Naruto-kun's whereabouts, and for now Minato-sama has had to decrease the search for a time being. We just know that there had been signs he was on Suna's borders, but furthermore nothing else has been found. I am sorry to disappoint. Itachi spoke to them in a soft but firm tone that held respect. Mikoto bowed her head and whispered her thanks to her son, while Fugaku sighed and nodded in defeat. Despite being the clan head, he had his moments that he could care less about composure and status. Itachi took that as his cue to leave his mother and father alone again. Namikaze compound. Nanami sat by the koi pond and looked down at her reflection. Her cheek still stung as if the bruise that had healed up was still there from a few days ago, but she guessed it was just one of those things. Nanami watched as the fishes swam across her reflection in the pond, and her thoughts started wandering to that of her only brother who left them because they had all been so terrible to him. Nariko and herself had been the main causes, she was sure of that. After all, they had treated him like trash, and now look at where it has gotten them. Naruto ni, I wish I could apologize, but I can't because I know I was jealous and I still am. Everyone saw you as a coming protege, but Nariko and I didn't like that. I am ashamed that we always were so evil to you, but the next time we see each other I will apologize deeply for our family's actions towards you, but I don't expect you to forgive us. I know everyone else will, but I don't, because even though we will try to be better, we will never fully succeed because this is who we are. Nanami's thoughts were deep and very intelligent, but then again it's expected when your father was a protege. Naruto. Our black-streaked blonde lay awake staring deeply at the ceiling at the house of the two girls he'd befriended accidentally. He thought on everything so far that he had done. From the perfect escape plan succeeding to the words of Tsuki-san after he killed those bandits, and Akari-san's total look over of what he'd done even if it was accidental. Both of these girls had given him much to think over for a while, and he needed to start training again. He didn't know what to make of the dark-headed woman with short hair and gray eyes. Tsuki-san was emotionally stronger than anyone he'd ever seen, and he could only hope to one day be the same. Yet he wondered how she managed it all, because not only did her biological parents die by an enemy, her adoptive parents died in front of her, and she is helpless to do anything other than trying to protect their biological daughter. Akari-san was another mystery on her own. The girl his age was so bubbly and upbeat even though she witnessed her parents' death. He wondered what made her keep being happy despite the terrible thing of watching your parents die before you at the tender age of 5. She was simply at ease with everything, and you could see she took after her adopted sister. Naruto sighed and closed his eyes, trying to understand how he had managed to use genjutsu through his eyes. The only explanation he could think of was the chemicals he had used, which seemed to have altered his abilities. He wondered what other changes these chemicals might have caused in his body. Unbeknownst to him, it was the green chakra that had integrated into his system that was behind these changes. In the Hyuga compound of Konoha, Hinata sat quietly in the garden with Neji. Her mother, usually by her side, was absent due to her pregnancy, expecting to give birth in 5 months. Hinata's fingers moved slowly as she attempted to make a flower crown, with Neji watching her with his pale, moon-colored eyes. She sighed in frustration as the crown broke for the 4th time, her mind unable to escape recent events. Hinata-sama, is everything all right? Are you having another vision, or is something troubling you? Neji asked politely, his gaze questioning. Hinata looked up at the clear, bright sky before turning to her cousin. Neji-ni-san, I can't stop thinking about Naruto-kun and why he left us. I miss having him around, but I believe we will see him again someday, she said, her words carrying a sense of longing and hope. Elsewhere, a man sat in a dark room, reading a book titled Diary of Uzumaki Kushina. He chuckled sinisterly, his dark purple eyes glinting wickedly. The door to the room opened, letting in a sliver of light that revealed his wicked grin. A tall, lean figure entered, carrying a file, and kneeled in deep bow. My lord, I have gathered all the data as you requested. There were no issues, the man said respectfully. A sinister laugh echoed through the room, followed by the sound of liquid splattering and a thud. The dark purple eyes looked down at the dead man on the floor with sick amusement. Indeed, I am satisfied. A few pieces have yet to move on this chessboard, The voice of malice resonated through the hallways, the candles flickering as his glowing eyes flashed with wicked delight at the sight before him, contemplating his future plans. Hey everyone, I hope you found this interesting. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you and best regards. Anime Dreams.